Countless black individuals have changed the course of history.
And this idea was probably introduced centuries ago, but it's really becoming critical now.
Not only have they made a huge impact on today's world, but they are also considered some of the smartest individuals ever. Here is a list, in no particular order, of the 15 smartest black people ever. At number 15, Charles Drew. Charles Drew was a remarkable doctor whose work changed the way we use blood for saving lives. Born in 1904 in Washington, D.C., Drew was not just smart in school, but also a star in sports. He chose to become a doctor, and that's where he made his biggest mark. During World War II, Drew worked on something incredible. He figured out how to store blood for a long time and send it to soldiers who needed it. This project, called Blood for Britain, was a huge success. Before Drew, it was really hard to store blood without it going bad, but he found a way to separate the liquid part of blood called plasma and keep it safe for longer. This meant that more injured soldiers could get the blood they needed to survive. Drew's idea of drying out plasma and then adding water when it was needed was a game changer. It's like turning milk into powder and then back into milk when you want to drink it. Because of his work, we have blood banks today where blood is kept ready for emergencies. Sadly, Drew died in a car accident when he was only 45 years old. But what he did in his short life is still helping people all over the world. He wasn't just a brilliant doctor. He was a hero who showed that with hard work and a big heart, you can do things that really matter. His story is a reminder of how one person's big idea can make a huge difference, just as our next individual did, but in the technology field. At number 14, we have Lewis Latimer. Lewis Latimer, born in 1848 in Massachusetts, was an ingenious inventor and draftsman who played a crucial role in the development of some of the most transformative technologies of his time. His contributions to the electric light bulb and the telephone have left a lasting impact on the world. Latimer's most notable work involved improving the light bulb, a creation often solely credited to Thomas Edison. While Edison developed the first practical light bulb, it was Latimer who significantly enhanced its longevity and efficiency. He invented a carbon filament that made the bulbs longer lasting and more affordable, bringing electric light into more homes and businesses. Imagine a world where electric light was a luxury few could afford. Latimer's invention was like opening a door, allowing the light to spread far and wide, changing how people lived and worked. In addition to his work with light bulbs, Latimer also contributed to Alexander Graham Bell's invention of the telephone by drafting the necessary patent drawings. Lewis Latimer's legacy goes beyond his inventions. As one of the first major African-American inventors in the U.S., he broke racial barriers and paved the way for future generations of diverse inventors and engineers. His life and work are a testament to the power of innovation and perseverance. Next at number 13, we have Frederick Douglass. Born into slavery around 1818, Frederick Douglass became a key figure in American history, embodying the fight for freedom and equality. His remarkable journey from enslavement to becoming a leading voice against slavery showcases his extraordinary intellect, courage, and determination. Self-taught in reading and writing, Douglass used these skills to fight for both his own freedom and that of others. His powerful autobiographies, especially Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, highlight the brutal reality of slavery and significantly influenced the civil rights discourse in America. More than just a narrative of his life, Douglass's work represents his steadfast commitment to justice. He was a notable abolitionist, supported women's suffrage, and advised presidents. His eloquent expression of the enslaved suffering and his vision for an equitable America marked him as a moral leader of his time. Douglass's legacy extends beyond his lifetime, inspiring ongoing movements for human rights. His resilience and mastery of language have made a lasting impact, establishing him as a symbol of resistance against oppression and a relentless advocate for equality. Moving on, a lady that made history in a very unique way. At number 12, we have Michelle Obama. Born in Chicago in 1964, Michelle Obama has emerged as one of the most influential and admired women of our time. As the first African-American First Lady of the United States, she redefined the role with grace, intelligence, and a strong commitment to social issues. Michelle's journey from the South Side of Chicago to the halls of Princeton and Harvard Law School speaks volumes about her dedication and intellect. However, it's her warmth, down-to-earth nature, and unwavering belief in the power of education that truly resonate with people. As First Lady, Michelle championed causes close to her heart, Her Let's Move campaign tackled child obesity, promoting healthier living through diet and exercise. With Reach Higher, she inspired young people to pursue higher education. Her efforts extended globally with Let Girls Learn advocating for girls' education worldwide. Michelle's impact goes beyond initiatives. Her memoir, Becoming, invites readers into her life story, sharing the experiences that shaped her. Her honesty about life's changes and her journey of self-discovery have inspired millions. Michelle Obama's legacy is marked by her unwavering advocacy for a better, more inclusive world. Her strength, empathy, and hopefulness continue to inspire, showing that one person's voice and actions can truly make a difference, just like our next lady on our list. Number 11, Octavia Butler. Born in 1947 in California, Octavia was a trailblazer in the world of science fiction, a genre often dominated by male authors. She broke through these barriers with her vivid imagination and profound storytelling, becoming one of the most influential science fiction writers of her time. Butler's stories are unique because they do more than just explore distant galaxies or futuristic technology. She used the backdrop of science fiction to delve into complex issues like race, gender, and identity. Her writing is like a mirror, reflecting our society's struggles and triumphs in the guise of other worlds and times. One of her most notable works, Kindred, is a powerful blend of science fiction and historical narrative. It takes readers on a time travel journey that explores the harsh realities of slavery and racial tensions. Through her characters and their experiences, Butler opens up a window to understanding and empathy. Butler's legacy extends beyond her novels. She broke new ground for African American women in science fiction, paving the way for future generations of writers. Her work challenges readers to think deeply about humanity's past and future, making her a beacon of creativity and insight in literature. Octavia Butler's stories are not just tales of fantasy. They are reflections on the human condition, making us ponder what it means to be truly human in a complex world. At number 10, we have Cheikh Anta Diop. Born in Senegal in 1923, Cheikh Anta Diop was a remarkable scholar whose work reshaped our understanding of African history and culture. Known for his multidisciplinary approach, Diop was not just a historian. He was also a physicist, anthropologist, and linguist, combining these skills to paint a more accurate picture of Africa's past. Diop's major contribution was his challenge to the prevailing view of African history. At a time when many believed Africa had a minimal role in world civilization, Diop argued that ancient African civilizations, particularly Egypt, were deeply influential. He suggested that ancient Egypt was fundamentally a Black African civilization and had a significant impact on European and Middle Eastern cultures. Imagine a jigsaw puzzle where many pieces, representing Africa's historical contributions, were missing or misplaced. Diop worked tirelessly to find these pieces and fit them into their rightful place in the world's history, offering a more complete and truthful picture. His book, The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality, is a testament to his groundbreaking work. Diop's legacy is one of empowerment, encouraging Africans and people around the world to embrace and study African history and contributions with pride and accuracy. He opened doors for future generations of African scholars, inspiring them to continue exploring and redefining Africa's role in world history. And well, when it comes to changing history, there's a name that comes to mind. Number 9, Thurgood Marshall. Born in 1908 in Maryland, Marshall was a towering figure in the fight for civil rights in America. He made history as the first African-American Supreme Court justice, but his journey to this landmark achievement was filled with groundbreaking moments. Marshall's work as a lawyer for the NAACP laid the foundation for his legacy. He was like a skilled chess player, strategically challenging racial segregation. His most famous case, Brown versus Board of Education, was a game changer. In this case, Marshall argued against the separate but equal doctrine in public schools, leading to the Supreme Court's decision to end racial segregation in education. This was a major victory reshaping American society. His appointment to the Supreme Court in 1967 was more than just a personal achievement. It symbolized a turning point in American history. On the bench, Marshall continued to be a voice for equality and justice, advocating for the rights of the marginalized. Thurgood Marshall's legacy is immense. He tore down barriers, challenged unjust laws, and opened doors for future generations. His life and work continue to inspire those fighting for justice and equality, reminding us that with determination and courage, change is possible. At number 8, we have Mae Jemison. Born in 1956 in Alabama, Jemison is a true trailblazer whose journey took her from the classrooms of Stanford and Cornell to the vastness of outer space. In 1992, she made history as the first African-American woman astronaut to travel into space aboard the space shuttle Endeavour. Before reaching the stars, Jemison's path was marked by her insatiable curiosity and determination. After earning a degree in chemical engineering and a doctorate in medicine, she joined NASA's astronaut corps, blending her love for science with her passion for space exploration. Jemison's historic space flight is like a beacon, shining brightly and showing the way for others. Her voyage not only broke barriers, but also served as an inspiration for countless young girls and boys, especially those of color, to dream big and reach for the stars. Beyond her space mission, Jemison is a fervent advocate for science education, tirelessly working to spark interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics among young people. Her legacy extends beyond her spaceflight. It's found in the impact she has on the next generation of scientists, explorers, and dreamers. Mae Jemison's story is more than an astronaut's tale. It's a narrative of breaking boundaries and envisioning a future without limits. Her journey and achievements continue to inspire and challenge us to think beyond our own horizons. At number 7, we have Benjamin Banneker. Born in 1731 in Maryland, Banneker was a self-taught African-American polymath, a rare talent whose expertise spanned astronomy, mathematics, and surveying. He was a man of many firsts, breaking racial barriers in a time when African Americans faced significant limitations. Banneker's most renowned contribution was to the surveying of the boundaries of the District of Columbia, the future capital of the United States. Imagine trying to outline the future heart of a nation without modern tools. That was Banneker's challenge, and he met it brilliantly, using his self-taught skills in astronomy to help map out the city. He also created almanacs that included astronomical calculations, tide tables, and medicinal formulas, which were widely used at the time. Banneker's correspondence with Thomas Jefferson, advocating for racial equality, further highlighted his role as an early civil rights advocate. Benjamin Banneker's life and work serve as powerful reminders of the extraordinary contributions that can be made despite facing societal barriers. His legacy is one of intellectual brilliance and a relentless pursuit of equality and knowledge. And when it comes to knowledge, few people on Earth come close to what our next person on this list has in the space field. At number 6, we have Neil deGrasse Tyson. Born in 1958 in New York City, Neil is a celebrated astrophysicist and a masterful science communicator who has ignited public interest in the cosmos like few others. His ability to explain the complexities of the universe in engaging and understandable ways has made him a household name. As the director of the Hayden Planetarium and a host of various science programs, including the renowned Cosmos, A Space-Time Odyssey, Tyson has a knack for making science both accessible and exciting. Think of him as a guide on a journey through the stars, translating the language of the cosmos into something we can all understand and appreciate. His contributions extend to his books and numerous public talks, where he discusses everything from black holes to the intricacies of space exploration. Tyson's passion for education and his advocacy for science literacy have inspired countless individuals to look up at the night sky with wonder and curiosity. Neil deGrasse Tyson's impact lies not just in his scientific achievements, but in his ability to connect people with the wonders of the universe, fostering a global appreciation for science and discovery. So, is there anyone that I haven't mentioned that you'd like to see on this list up next? Let me know in the comments. I'm quite sure that if you like peanut butter, you'll enjoy number 5. George Washington Carver. Born into slavery in Missouri around 1864, Washington Carver grew to become one of the most prominent agricultural scientists of his time. His innovative research and teachings revolutionized agriculture in the southern United States. Carver is best known for his work with peanuts, though he did much more. At a time when the South relied heavily on cotton, which depleted the soil of its nutrients, Carver suggested rotating crops with peanuts and other legumes. This was like giving the tired soil a rest and a vitamin boost, rejuvenating it for future crops. Beyond just improving soil health, Carver developed over 300 products from peanuts, including dyes, plastics, and gasoline, showing farmers the value of crop diversification. His work extended to sweet potatoes and soybeans, transforming these humble crops into valuable and versatile resources. Carver's legacy is profound, but also in environmental sustainability. His life and work embody innovation, resilience, and the power of scientific thinking to bring positive change to communities and economies. Chiming in at number 4, W.E.B. Du Bois. Born in 1868 in Massachusetts, Du Bois was a towering figure in American history. Known for his relentless pursuit of civil rights and his profound influence as a scholar and activist, as the first African-American to earn a PhD from Harvard, he set a precedent in academia. Du Bois was a founding member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and used his voice and pen to fight against racial discrimination. Imagine him as a lighthouse, guiding the way toward equality and justice through turbulent and oppressive times. His seminal work, The Souls of Black Folk, is a collection of essays that masterfully blend history, sociology, and personal narrative to explore the African American experience. Du Bois introduced the concept of double consciousness, a term describing the internal conflict faced by Black Americans navigating a society structured by racial prejudice. W.E.B. Du Bois' legacy is profound, reflecting a life dedicated to understanding and challenging the racial injustices of his time. His contributions continue to inspire and educate, underscoring the importance of striving for social justice and equality. At number 3, we have the shining Katherine Johnson. Born in 1918 in West Virginia, Johnson was a brilliant mathematician whose work was pivotal in the success of the U.S. space program. Her story is one of breaking barriers and exceptional skill in a field dominated by men. Johnson's greatest contribution was her work at NASA, where she calculated the trajectories for space missions, including the historic 1969 Apollo 11 moon landing. Imagine a time when computers weren't as advanced as today. Back then, it was Johnson's extraordinary ability to compute and verify complex calculations that ensured astronauts could safely travel to space and return home. Her role was not just about numbers. It was about making the impossible possible. She was a key player in a team that pushed the boundaries of human exploration. In a time when African American women faced significant discrimination, Johnson's achievements were not only a triumph of intellect, but also of perseverance and courage. Katherine Johnson's legacy is a testament to the power of determination and brilliance, inspiring generations to dream big and reach for the stars. Her life reminds us that with talent and hard work, one can overcome any obstacle and make a significant impact on the world. At number 2, we have Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. Born in 1946 in Washington, D.C., Dr. Jackson is a trailblazing physicist and an influential leader in science and education. As the first African-American woman to earn a PhD from MIT, she paved the way for future generations in the fields of science and engineering. Dr. Jackson's expertise in theoretical physics, particularly in condensed matter and the physics of optoelectronic materials, has made significant contributions to scientific understanding. Picture her as an architect of the microscopic world, helping to lay the groundwork for developments in telecommunications and semiconductor technology. Beyond her research, Dr. Jackson's impact is profoundly felt in her leadership roles. As the president of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, she has transformed the school into a top-tier research institution. She also made history as the first African-American and first woman to chair the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, where her work has had a lasting global impact on nuclear safety. Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson's career is a testament to the power of perseverance, intelligence, and leadership. Her achievements have broken barriers and set new standards in science and academia, inspiring countless individuals to pursue their dreams regardless of obstacles. There are countless other smart and influential individuals in Black history. Who do you think should be included in the next list? Let us know in the comments down below. And now at our number 1 slot, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Born in Nigeria in 1977, she has emerged as a powerful voice in contemporary literature. Her novels, including Half of a Yellow Sun and Americana, skillfully blend personal narratives with broader social and political issues, illuminating the African experience. Adichie boldly addresses race, identity, and feminism, making complex topics approachable and relatable. Her storytelling sheds light on often overlooked perspectives, sparking important conversations and challenging readers to view the world differently. Beyond her novels, Adichie's speeches, notably "We Should All Be Feminists," resonate globally, inspiring and advocating for change. She's more than an author. She's a cultural figure shaping our understanding of humanity. Adichie's work transcends literature, bridging cultural divides and touching hearts. Her legacy is not just in her writing, but in her call to recognize and embrace diverse narratives, encouraging us to find and share our own truths. The great philosopher Rick Ross once said, "Every day I'm hustling." That's the common thread among our list of 10 of the richest African Americans. We're diving into the lives of powerhouses who overcame poverty, discrimination, and death to become some of the richest people on earth. We are sure number 1 on our list you've never heard of. At number 10, Jordan Peele. You might know Jordan Peele from his hilarious hit sketch show, Key & Peele, but his bank account is no laughing matter. Born and raised in New York City, Jordan's first taste of putting on shows came from him majoring in, you guessed it, puppetry. Luckily for us, he dropped out to pursue comedy. His comedic chops landed him a spot on the late-night comedy sketch comedy show Mad TV in 2003. Here is where he met future co-star and friend Keegan-Michael Key. His run on Mad TV ended in 2007, around the same time. He was in the running to join the rival and more popular late-night sketch show Saturday Night Live. Unfortunately, his career was brought to a halt that same year when the Writers Guild of America went on strike. After floating around Hollywood picking up bit roles, he finally formed the dynamic duo that put him on the map. Key & Peele launched in 2012. The show was a hit, winning 2 Emmys and a Peabody Award. The show's YouTube channel to this day has over 5 million subscribers and brings in over $1 million a year. But he really started to make scary money with his next project. In 2017, Jordan shocked us with his original screenplay, Get Out. Made on a budget of $4.5 million, the movie grossed over $250 million. The movie received a 98% rating from Rotten Tomatoes and officially crowned him as the new king of horror films. He followed that up with the terrifying film Us, then made us scared of mirrors again, with a remake of the classic horror film Candyman. He then had us double-check the clouds with his award-winning film Nope. Those films alone grossed over $760 million. The next person on our list has dreams the size of skyscrapers. At number 9, Dawn Peebles. Born in Washington, D.C., Dawn Peebles learned the value of hard work at a young age. Young Dawn frequently assisted his father, who was a mechanic, and in high school he was an intern for 2 members of Congress. After graduating from Rutgers University, Dawn Peebles became a real estate agent and appraiser back in his hometown. By the early 90s, Dawn Peebles was already a force in real estate. He had successfully launched 2 real estate adjacent firms, and hired by the mayor of D.C. to head one of the biggest real estate development projects in the city's history. But his next feat put him in the history books. In 1996, Dawn Peebles redeveloped the famous Royal Palm Hotel in Miami Beach, Florida. The original Royal Palm was gravely damaged by a hurricane in 1926. It was condemned and torn down in 1930. Some 60 years later, Hurricane Dawn came through and resurrected the Miami icon, and the Royal Palm Resort became the nation's first major hotel developed and owned by an African American. His next challenge would break the stratosphere. In 2022, Dawn Peebles spearheaded a group that proposed to build the most inclusive skyscraper in U.S. history, a 2 million square foot mixed-use building called Affirmation Tower. Dawn's ambitions will show the next generation the limit is beyond the sky. Number 8, Byron Allen. Byron Allen started his career as a comedian at just 14 years old. By the age of 18, he had become the youngest comedian ever to perform on The Tonight Show by Johnny Carson. His appearance on the legendary late-night show provided pivotal, as he became interested in not just performing, but how shows were made. Byron's appearance on The Tonight Show opened up new opportunities in television. He was first hired as a reporter, wrote, and starred in a TV show, then hosted his own late-night talk show, The Byron Allen Show, which ran for 3 seasons. But Byron saw the real lucrative opportunities did not come from putting your face on the screen, but by owning the productions. In 1993, he launched CF Entertainment, a production company devoted to low-budget, non-fiction programming, and its first program was a syndicated talk show hosted by Byron Allen. He tried his best to keep costs low with tactics such as using hotel rooms as studio space and bartering deals with networks at no upfront cost. But Byron still found himself in financial distress. His home was threatened several times with foreclosure, but he wasn't able to pay his phone bill, which led to him having to travel to the nearest payphone to conduct business. But like they say, the show must go on. Byron Allen was able to weather the storm. He renamed his production company to Entertainment Studios, and after gaining moderate success through original programming, began to acquire different media entities. In 2012, he made headlines when his company acquired The Weather Channel. Now, Entertainment Studios is worth almost $5 billion, and Byron no longer has to worry about his house troubles, as they went away too when he purchased a Malibu mansion in 2022 for a gut-busting $100 million. It's safe to say the phones work there just fine. The next man's bank account is just as great, even though he was sleeping in his car not too long ago. At the number 7 spot, we have Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is known for his larger-than-life character, Medea, and his even larger-than-life studio in Atlanta. But what you might not know is how many obstacles he overcame to get his billionaire status. Tyler dropped out of high school before going back to earn his GED. Like a common high school dropout stereotype, Tyler had an epiphany while sitting on the couch watching TV. In an interview, Tyler said he was inspired to become a writer after watching an episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show. And when Oprah tells you to do something, you do it. So in 1990, Tyler packed up everything he owned and began his life-changing journey from New Orleans to Atlanta. He then took all of his lifetime savings of $12,000 and invested it into his first stage play. The play opened to lackluster fanfare and less than stellar reviews. It was a downright financial failure, and with him unable to recoup his initial investment, Tyler found himself homeless, living out of his car in the early 90s Geo Metro. Not to be deterred, Tyler kept writing and scrapped together enough money to put together another play, then another, then another. 6 years after sleeping in his car, Tyler was able to take his stage shows from local community theaters to mid-sized theaters all throughout America. His shows began to see 35,000 people per week. At his peak, Tyler was releasing 300 stage plays per year, earning upwards of $150 million per year. His ambition spilled over from the stage to the big screen. Tyler's first movie, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, was an instant cash smash. The movie earned $50 million on only a $5 million budget. In that movie, the world was introduced to Tyler's biggest character, literally the 6'5" powerhouse Medea. The most prolific character throughout all of his productions was himself. Dressed as a woman who was inspired by his aunt and mother. Alone, Medea-centered movies have grossed over $500 million. The man who was once sleeping in his car went on to build his own mega studio, a sprawling 330-acre lot that includes a replica of the White House. Tyler's hard work, determination, and unwavering commitment to his craft earned him billionaire status in 2022. We've already seen a billionaire rise against formidable odds. Now we can add America's first black billionaire to that list. At number 6, Bob Johnson. Born in Hickory, Mississippi, Bob Johnson was the 9th out of 10th children born to a school teacher and a farmer. According to an interview, Bob said, "We weren't poor, but I did have to push my way to the table." As a child, Bob's desire to work displayed early when he began his own paper route. That hunger and ambition led him to become the only child of the 10 children to go to college. After getting his bachelor's from the University of Illinois, then his master's from Princeton, Bob landed a job in Washington, D.C., aka the Chocolate City. His jobs out of college showed him two things: the untapped potential of TV and the power of cable. After several years of working for others, in the spring of 1980, Bob Johnson took out a $15,000 loan to launch his own cable channel, Black Entertainment Television, better known as BET. BET was the first ever media company to cater specifically to black people. It quickly became a staple in the black community, reaching 62 million homes. With Bob at the helm, it became the first black-controlled company to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Bob Johnson's BET on himself paid off when in 2001, the network he started was acquired by Viacom. The whopping $3 billion deal added $1 billion to Bob's bank account, making him the first ever American billionaire of African descent. Most people would sit back and relax after cashing a check that big, but not Bob Johnson. The very next year, he became the first black owner of an American sports team when he led a group that would purchase the NBA's new expansion team in Charlotte, North Carolina. The new team was called the Charlotte Bobcats. Who are we missing on our list? Comment down below. Now let's get back to the show. Sitting comfortably at number 5, we have Jay-Z. Sean Carter, better known to the world as Jay-Z, is the first rapper to become a billionaire, but he wasn't always sipping Douce out of Grammy. Born in Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, New York, Jay-Z showed genius at an early age. At just 4 years old, he taught himself how to ride a 10-speed bike. Sometime later, his mother bought him a boombox in an effort to keep him away from the street life. Her efforts took root, but it still couldn't keep him away from the alluring lights of the streets. Despite his close calls with rivals, police, and even death, Jay-Z went from the street corner to the corner office. His graduation from the School of Hard Knocks started to pay dividends by the time he released his first album, Reasonable Doubt, in 1996. Not only did he release a classic album, he did it by funding himself. Jay's music career crossed over to global status when he released his hit single, Hard Knock Life, which fueled his first #1 album, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. This became the first of his record-breaking 14 #1 albums. Jay recognized the full power of his influence early on. His first business venture was his launch on Rocawear clothing. Less than a decade after launching the successful fashion brand, he sold it for $204 million. Jay-Z's thirst only grew once he was shunned by the champagne brand Cristal, which he helped make popular through his music. To quench his thirst, Jay bought the champagne brand Armand de Brignac, better known as Ace of Spades, and invested a large sum into the cognac brand Doucet. He was popping bottles a few years later when he sold shares in both spirits for a combined $1 billion. Jay-Z made millions of dollars off his music, including multiple six-figure touring deals and various partnerships, but his keen eye in business made him a billionaire. The next person is the first black woman to claim billionaire status. At number 4, the illustrious Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey may be known to the world as the first black female billionaire, but she started off far from handing out free new cars to a studio audience. Born in rural Mississippi as a child, Oprah's family was so poor her grandmother would stitch up potato sacks to be used as dresses. That still didn't stop Oprah. After moving to Nashville, Tennessee to live with her father, she was voted most popular, joined her school's speech team, and went on to win a Miss Black Teen beauty pageant. Oprah's victory at the pageant caught the attention of a local radio station, who hired her while she was still in high school. Her impressive resume earned her a full scholarship to one of the nation's historically black colleges, Tennessee State University. However, by the time she earned her degree, she was already famous. Now you see, while Oprah was still in college, she became not only the first black female on-screen news anchor in Tennessee, but also the youngest. So, when it was time for her to deliver her final assignment to graduate from college, she was so busy with work, she simply missed the deadline. She eventually graduated a decade later, but by then she had already had the #1 TV show in the nation. In 1984, Oprah was hired as a replacement for one of the lowest-rated TV shows in Chicago, a 30-minute show called AM Chicago. By the end of the year, the show was expanded to a full hour, rated the #1 show, and renamed The Oprah Winfrey Show. The Oprah Winfrey Show would dominate daytime television for almost 30 years, and she was paid potato sack sizes of money for it, earning upwards to $300 million a year. She was declared a billionaire before her 50th birthday. Today, Oprah owns her own production company, her own cable channel, a book club, is an award-winning actress, co-authored several books, and opened her own school for girls in South Africa. She literally went from rags to riches. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you let us know by clicking that subscribe button. Now let's see how history was made by the next person on our list. At number 3, the soaring, flying Michael Jordan. His royal airness, Michael Jordan, was actually cut from his high school varsity basketball team. Just 5 years later, he made a deal with an unknown shoe brand that changed sports forever. Drafted number 3 in the 1984 NBA draft, Michael Jordan attracted the attention of all types of sponsors hoping to get the rookie at a bargain. During those days, most deals were standard, and very few athletes had the cash to demand anything more. Good thing MJ didn't need cash, because he had his mother. When MJ was being courted by sneaker companies, it was a foregone conclusion he was signing with German brand Adidas. The German brand even offered to buy him a car to sweeten the deal, but Dolores Jordan thought her son was worth more. So when she accompanied Michael on his pitch meeting with Nike, she offered them a deal. A 5-year, $2.5 million deal was on the table, but Mrs. Jordan asked for something that had never been included in a shoe deal before: equity. On top of the $2.5 million, she requested a 5% royalty off of every shoe sold. Because of this, MJ became the first athlete to have ownership in a major sneaker company. The 6-time NBA champion made $94 million, but from his Nike deal, he earns a tongue-wagging $250 million a year from the sales of Air Jordans alone. To date, he's earned $1 billion by retaining ownership global usage of his name and image. His mother really installed the concept of ownership into her son. Michael Jordan went on to become the first ever former player to be the majority owner in the NBA. Several years later, he took off from the free throw line again, straight to the bank, when he sold most of his majority ownership of the basketball team for a rim-breaking $3 billion. The next person on our list didn't make money from sports, but he's one of the biggest ballers in the world. At the entrepreneurial number 2 slot, David Stewart. Born in Chicago, David Stewart is one of the wealthiest men in the world, and a big reason was him learning the value of teamwork and sacrifice at an early age. When David was young, he watched his father sacrifice his career as a mechanic in order to provide instant stability for his 10 children. That required David's father to take his family out of the city life of Chicago and embrace the farm life on the outskirts of Missouri. There, the Stewart family owned a few acres of land and some farm animals, combined with some odd jobs here and there. David's father was able to provide a better life for his family, and it showcased the power of entrepreneurialism to a young David. So in 1984, David Stewart, now married with 2 kids, started his own entrepreneurial journey. He founded his first company, Transportation Business Specialists, which audited and reviewed freight bill and overcharges for the railroad industry. After a few years, he was able to leverage the success and information gained for TBS, and he launched worldwide technology. Initially, WWT distributed IT hardware, software, and services, but David knew he had more than just products to provide. Back during his days of auditing railroad freights, he realized it wasn't simply the service he was providing, but the innovation and technology behind it. He carried that with him to WWT and became one of the leaders in the tech space, specializing in cloud capabilities, security, mobility, and networking technology solutions. With David at the helm, Worldwide Technologies is worth a staggering $9 billion and is one of the largest black-owned companies in the world. Number 1 on our wealthiest list may be a billionaire several times over, but his heart is just as big. With peak interest at number 1, Robert F. Smith. Robert F. Smith was raised in a black middle-class neighborhood in East Denver. At 6 months old, his mother took him to one of the most pivotal moments of American history. In August of 1963, Robert was in attendance of Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous "I Have a Dream" speech, and dream young Robert did. A 4th-generation college graduate, Robert earned his bachelor's from Cornell, then went on to earn his MBA from Columbia. After several years working between Goodyear Tires and Kraft Goods as a chemical engineer, he found new roots in the financial sector when he led the new technology-focused merger and acquisition wing of Goldman Sachs. There, Robert F. Smith advised on over $50 billion in merger and acquisition activities. This is where he saw the opportunities to really make a difference. So, in 2000, Smith set out on his own when he founded Vista Equity Partners, his very own venture capital and private equity firm. To date, Vista has over $100 billion in assets under management, with Smith at the helm as CEO and being named Dealmaker of the Year in 2019. But his most noteworthy achievement came in the spring of 2019, when Robert F. Smith pledged $34 million to pay off 400 graduating students of Morehouse College. Robert F. Smith's achievements are not bound by his bank account and should inspire others to not only earn more, but to give just as much. African Americans are some of the most influential people in history. From the music they've produced, the laws they've changed, down to the way they dress, the influence of black people in America and abroad is undeniable. Here is our list of 10 of the most influential African Americans of all time. You may be shocked at who we put at number 1. Number 10. Oprah. Oprah Winfrey may be known to the world as the first black female billionaire, but her handing out free cars isn't the only reason her influence spreads around the globe. Some are inspired by her resilience and courage. Growing up, Oprah Winfrey was so poor that she literally wore potato sacks that were sewn together by her grandmother. But her economic status did not prevent her from striving for excellence. By the end of high school, Miss Winfrey had earned statewide academic awards for her participation on the oratory team, and even won a beauty contest for Miss Black Teen. Oprah's victory at the pageant caught the attention of a local radio station. Her impressive resume earned her a full scholarship to one of the nation's historically black colleges, Tennessee State University. While she was still in college, Oprah became not only the first black female on-screen news anchor in Tennessee, but also the youngest. In 1984, Oprah was hired as a replacement for one of the lowest-rated TV shows in Chicago. By the end of the year, the show was expanded to a full hour, rated the #1 show, and renamed The Oprah Winfrey Show. The Oprah Winfrey Show would dominate daytime television for almost 30 years, and she was paid potato sack sizes of money for it, earning upwards to $300 million a year. She was declared a billionaire before her 50th birthday. Oprah's influence touches multiple industries and countries. Oprah has launched the careers of personalities like Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, Elena Van Zandt, and of course, her best friend, Gayle King. Books that have been featured on Oprah's book club often go to sell millions of copies on their way to become New York Times bestsellers. Oprah even opened her own school in South Africa, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy, a girls-only boarding school that features a yoga studio, 2 theaters, and a hair salon. Oprah Winfrey has inspired women and men everywhere to follow her footsteps. Her story and accomplishments show what could happen with hard work, dedication, faith, and a vision. The next person on our list stood on the front lines fighting for human rights. Number 9. John Lewis. John Lewis was a towering figure in the American Civil Rights Movement. His impact isn't discussed as much as figures like MLK, Malcolm X, and others, but his strength to carry his beliefs with him into a long-term tenure as a U.S. Senator is what landed him on our list. Born on February 21, 1940, in Troy, Alabama, Lewis experienced the harsh realities of racial segregation and discrimination from an early age. Lewis's journey into activism began with his involvement in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in the early 1960s. Lewis was one of the original freedom fighters, challenging segregated interstate travel. His unwavering commitment to nonviolent resistance became a hallmark of his activism, earning him the nickname, the Boy from Troy. March 7, 1965, Mr. Lewis' efforts were etched into history the day he led 600 protesters on what was supposed to be a 54-mile march into the state capital of Alabama. The march was in response to the lack of voting rights of black people in the Jim Crow South. However, as the peaceful protest crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, they were met with brute force from Alabama state troopers. The violent attack left Mr. Lewis with a fractured skull. The assault on the protesters in total left 26 shot, of which 14 died. This day became known as Bloody Sunday. However, those fighters did not die in vain, as ultimately the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed. It became a landmark piece of legislation that dismantled barriers preventing African Americans from exercising their right to vote, and it made John Lewis a hero. In 1986, he transitioned from grassroots organizing to legislative work when he was elected to represent Georgia's 5th Congressional District, a position he held until his passing in 2020. As the conscience of the Congress, Lewis continued his fight for justice within the system, advocating for civil rights, health care, and gun control. His voice echoed through the halls of the Capitol as he passionately spoke out against injustice, inequality, and discrimination. Lewis's life serves as a testament to the enduring power of moral courage and the belief that, in the words of his mentor Martin Luther King Jr., the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. At number 8, Thomas Sowell. Many would call Thomas Sowell a lot of things, but one thing you can't deny is his impact. Mr. Sowell got a taste of every walk of life early. Born in the Jim Crow South of North Carolina, raised in Harlem. Because of impoverished conditions, Mr. Sowell dropped out of high school and enlisted into the Marine Corps, which led to night classes at Howard University, and he eventually graduated from Harvard magna cum laude. Mr. Sowell was able to experience racism and segregation, bear witness to black affluence, and get a close examination of the society at large. Through this diverse upbringing and keen eye for the truth laid the foundation for his philosophies. Many would describe his views on social movements as conservative, even though he was a registered Democrat. Although he witnessed the crimes and violations of racism and segregation, Mr. Sowell was not a fan of affirmative or government assistance programs like welfare. He often voiced his opposition to black people's dependence on anyone but themselves. Mr. Sowell's biggest influence has come through his teachings and views on economics. He doesn't believe in dependence, but rather a free marketplace. Mr. Sowell believed that the only way black people could rise out of economic deprivation was by non-government interference. His studies included an opposition to minimum wage laws. Mr. Sowell believed if you put a minimum wage requirement on the workforce, you contribute to unemployment. With over 45 books, Thomas Sowell's influence of economics, politics, and the world live on for years to come. The next person on our list is so influential that people forgot she has a famous husband. Number 7. Beyoncé, a global icon. The most Grammy wins ever, none other than the Queen, Beyoncé. Born on September 4, 1981, in Houston, Texas, Beyoncé's career journey began as a member of Destiny's Child. However, It was her solo career that catapulted her into superstardom and solidified her status as one of the most influential artists of her generation. Beyoncé paved her own way by empowering women all over the world, both in her music and public persona. She's always encouraged women to be nothing less than a queen. Songs like Single Ladies, Put a Ring on It, and Run the World Girls became anthems for encouraging women to be confident, embody strength, and be proud of their femininity. Mrs. Knowles Carter addressed themes of race, infidelity, feminism, and the black experience in America as she saw it, with her record-breaking album, Lemonade. Beyoncé leveraged her queendom into fashion, acting, and entrepreneurship. Beyoncé has shaped trends and set standards for elegance and innovation. Her Ivy Park collaboration with Adidas not only showcased her influence in the athletic wear market, but also emphasized the importance of inclusivity and body positivity. Beyond her individual achievements, Beyoncé is a proud mother and wife, often collaborating with her husband, Jay-Z, or performing with her oldest daughter, Blue Ivy. The queen keeps family number one. Through her artistry, Beyoncé has challenged societal norms, empowered marginalized communities, and set new standards for excellence in the entertainment industry. Her impact is not only measured in record sales and awards, but also in the way she has inspired and uplifted individuals around the world, leaving an enduring legacy that transcends generations. At number 6, Kanye West. There's very few people on this list that evoke an emotion from everyone, but whether you love him or hate him, you definitely feel some way about Mr. West. Kanye West has evolved from a celebrated producer to an innovative, yet sometimes controversial figure, whose impact extends beyond the boundaries of music. Kanye's early contributions to the cultural zeitgeist came via his unique style of hip-hop production. His sped-up and chopped soul samples play a pivotal role in reshaping rap music. However, it was his hunger for more that really made us fall in love with Mr. West. His debut album, The College Dropout, released in 2004, not only marked the beginning of his successful solo career, but also challenged traditional hip-hop norms with its introspective and socially conscious themes. Kanye's ability to express his conflicts of being black, self-conscious, vulnerable, but also unapologetically himself sparked a whole generation. Kanye's foray into fashion design has disrupted traditional norms and elevated streetwear to high fashion status. From the start, popularizing backpacks, pink polos, and retro Jordans, the kid from the Shy was paving his own lane. As he evolved, he began to put the same intense focus he used in music into fashion. The Yeezy brand's success had demonstrated Ye's ability to transcend music and impact global fashion trends, making him a formidable force in the intersection of music and style. But of course, Mr. West is not without controversy. His outspoken nature and headline-grabbing moments, both on and off the stage, have fueled polarizing opinions. From calling out President Bush on his response to Hurricane Katrina, to being called a mule of sorts by President Obama, Kanye has been a lightning rod for discussions on fame, mental health, and the price of creativity. Kanye West's ventures have expanded beyond music and fashion. Over the years, Mr. West has openly spoken out against the prison industrial complex, and in 2021, put on a concert in an effort to free former gang leader Larry Hoover. In 2022, Ye also opened his own school, Donda Academy. Ye's cultural impact is a complex tapestry woven with musical innovation, fashion disruption, and a willingness to challenge societal norms. His influence on the music can be felt in artists like Drake and Travis Scott. His impact on fashion and cultural trends is inescapable. While controversies surround him, you may not love Kanye the way Kanye loves Kanye, but you feel him one way or another. The next person on our list is rumored to be the first woman to put on American currency. At number 5, Harriet Tubman. There is no person that more encapsulates the spirit of black people more than Harriet Tubman. Her life and achievements have inspired many to be defiant and take control of their destinies. Born into slavery around 1822, young Harriet showed signs of resistance, leadership, and courage early. At just 6 years old, she was assigned to be a nurse. Her duties included assisting the head nurse and caring for the baby of the house. However, whenever the baby cried, young Harriet was severely punished for it, receiving brutal lashes across her back. To protect herself, young Harriet would wear extra layers, run away for days, and even fought back. Her adolescent years proved to be even more trying. After being sent to another plantation, she was assigned to backbreaking fieldwork, like clearing muskrat traps, driving oxen, plowing fields, and hauling tree logs. During these years, Mrs. Tubman took a blow to the head that nearly killed her. While another slave was trying to escape, she was struck in the head by a 2-pound metal weight. Bleeding and concussed, Mrs. Tubman was only taken off the field for 2 days. The traumatic blow led to continuous severe headaches, blurred sight, and seizures. She would later be quoted as saying, "It broke my skull." It also led to her calling. After the incident, she began to have visions and vivid dreams that she deemed were sent by God. These mystical inspirations became the fuel that would power the feats of the new Moses. In her late 20s, after a failed attempt by her owner to sell her and her brothers, Mrs. Tubman planned and executed her escape. Her escape from rural Maryland was a harrowing one that took her northeast through Delaware and up to Philadelphia. She traversed at night to avoid slave catchers, guided by nothing but the North Star. In total, the journey was almost 100 miles by foot. This route was a part of a network of secret pathways known as the Underground Railroad. In Philadelphia, Mrs. Tubman was free, but she refused to let her family and friends suffer in bondage and indefinite servitude. So, from 1851 to 1862, using the Underground Railroad, Mrs. Tubman helped over 100 black people escape the horrors of slavery. Till this day, Harriet Tubman inspires many and stands as an example of determination and will. In 2016, it was announced that Mrs. Harriet Tubman would replace former president and slave owner Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. Number 4. The Obamas. Where were you in 2008? If you were black and living in America, you were witnessing history when a senator from Illinois became the first black president of the United States of America. Former President Barack and former First Lady Michelle Obama have had a profound cultural impact that extends far beyond their time in the White House. Their legacy is marked by a commitment to inclusivity, diversity, and social change, making them influential figures in shaping the cultural landscape of the 21st century. Michelle Obama, with her mantra, "When they go low, we go high," became a symbol of grace, intelligence, and resilience during her tenure as First Lady from 2009 to 2017. Her focus on education and health through initiatives like Let's Move showcased a dedication to social issues. Beyond policy, Michelle's impact on culture was evident in her advocacy for women's rights and her emphasis on the importance of education for all, inspiring a new generation to strive for excellence and break down barriers. Barack Obama, as the 44th president, made history by being the first African American to hold the highest office in the land. His presidency was marked by a message of hope and change, resonating with a diverse and hopeful electorate. Obama's cultural impact was substantial as he addressed issues of racial inequality, healthcare, and climate change. His eloquent speeches and calm demeanor provided a stark contrast to the political climate of the time, influencing a sense of unity and civic engagement. Together, the Obamas redefined the image of America's first family, reflecting a more diverse and inclusive America. Their cultural impact extended beyond politics. From Barack's love for rap music and sports to Michelle's keen fashion sense, the Obamas related to people in ways never before seen by a first family. The burden of leadership definitely took a toll on the Obamas, but they continued to keep a pulse on the culture post-presidency, especially Mrs. Obama. Michelle's memoir, Becoming, became a bestseller, offering readers insights into her personal journey and inspiring individuals to overcome challenges. It even led to an American sold-out tour to celebrate the new author. Together, they launched their own production company, Higher Ground, in 2018. To date, they have released 17 projects that have featured stars like Kevin Hart, Julia Roberts, and Mahershala Ali. The cultural impact of Michelle and Barack Obama is immeasurable. Their legacy goes beyond political achievements, shaping the way society views leadership, diversity, and the potential for positive change. Their enduring influence continues to resonate, reminding us of the transformative power of leadership grounded in empathy, integrity, and a commitment to justice. At number 3, Malcolm X. Malcolm X was one of the most feared men in America. It wasn't through violence or brute strength that he commanded power, but rather his intellect, charisma, and discipline that inspired and still influences many till this day. His story starts a long way from Harlem. Born Malcolm Little in Omaha, Nebraska, his parents were both believers in Pan-Africanism and black self-reliance. If you know Malcolm's story, you'd already know being an outspoken leader among his people was in his blood. Malcolm's father, Earl Little, was himself brazen when he came to speaking out against injustice. Maybe ominously, Earl Little was also violently murdered, allegedly by a white supremacist organization. Even though Malcolm Little grew up in a Garveyite-inspired household, his path back to black self-reliance would be a winding road littered with violence, drugs, and a 6-year prison sentence. If you've been influenced by any of the people on our list thus far, hit that subscribe button. His prison sentence of 10 years for robbery and gun charges was reduced to 6 when he was released on parole. While in prison, Malcolm Little denounced his ways that led him to prison and converted to Islam. In prison, it is also where he was introduced to the Nation of Islam and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. After his release from prison in 1952, Malcolm officially became a member of the Nation of Islam and changed his last name from Little to X. By the mid-1950s, the man formerly known on the streets as Detroit Red was arguably the most feared black man in America. America. Just like his father, he became a brazen, outspoken advocate of black excellence and self-reliance, but on a national scale. Malcolm was given leadership roles within the NOI, becoming an amplified voice of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You could find him at town halls throughout the country or in newspapers and television programs. He fought against the violence and racism against blacks with his words, often encouraging black people to stand up for themselves, to fight back, and love themselves. When Malcolm initially joined the nation, membership stood at about 400, but by the turn of the decade, membership was over 40,000. Malcolm X's impact goes beyond his work with the nation. After disputes and turmoil, he was ousted from the nation. During this time, he began to lay the groundwork to bring the plight of black people in America to the United Nations. Malcolm also began to evolve his thinking of all people after he made a pilgrimage to Mecca. Malcolm never made it to the steps of the UN. It wasn't his physicality that made him one of the most influential people ever. It was his words that made him dangerous. It was his words that people loved and feared. And his words and impact will live forever. At number 2, Martin Luther King Jr. It's truly difficult to quantify the influence of Martin Luther King Jr. His impact spreads across multiple intersections of race, humanity, and politics. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was bred for leadership at an early age. The son and grandson of a pastor, Dr. King eventually took on the mantle of pastor when he was only 25 years old. His legacy is often talked about through the lens of peace and nonviolence, but it took some time to tame his emotions. As an adolescent, MLK would often reject the segregationist tactics of the Jim Crow South. He was known for his peaceful role during the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott, but in 1944, he too was confronted while riding the bus. While riding home on the bus, a young Martin was chastised by the bus driver, called a derogatory word for refusing to stand. The situation almost escalated into a physical altercation until Martin's teacher convinced him to consider the consequences. King would later say, "That night will never leave my memory. It was the angriest I have ever been in my life." Dr. King's commitment to nonviolence fueled his leadership tactics during the civil rights movement. He led various peaceful protests, marches, and boycotts to bring attention to systematic racial injustice. King's philosophy of nonviolence inspired countless individuals to join the civil rights movement and sparked a wave of social and legislative changes. Dr. King was a masterful orator. His powerful, soothing voice invoked many to follow. Nothing cemented his power as a speaker more than his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. During the 1963 March on Washington, Dr. King captivated a crowd of 250,000 with his vision of a better world. His speech punctuated a historical event that pressured the government to initiate strong civil rights bills. A year later, in 1964, the administration of John F. Kennedy passed the Civil Rights Act. That same year, the world was introduced to Martin Luther King Jr. when he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. His tireless efforts in combating racial inequality made him one of the most influential people in the world. Despite facing numerous threats and acts of violence, King remained steadfast in his pursuit of justice. He also played a crucial role in the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s tactics of nonviolence protests and remarkable speeches may be what most people will remember him for, but his pursuit of education, family, and equality continues to resonate for millions worldwide. The next person on our list quit his job twice. At number 1, Michael Jordan. In 1984, the NBA was a faltering league. Even with stars like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Dr. J, professional basketball was considered a second-tier event in American sports. So much so that the NBA Finals weren't even played on live television. That all changed when a shooting guard from the University of North Carolina changed everything. Michael Jordan took not only the NBA, but the sport as a whole to a whole nother level. With his tongue-wagging swagger and his swinging gold chains, it was his fashion sense that first took hold of the culture. With his very first shoe, the Jordan 1s, he rocked the world and the rules. Because of the colorway of his shoes, the league banned MJ's first signature shoe, but in an act of defiance, he wore them anyway, and Nike paid the fine. For the next 2 decades, Air Jordans ruled not only basketball courts, but schoolyards, weddings, and red carpets. His royal airness hasn't suited up for a game in 2 decades, but kids all over the world still rush to get the latest Air Jordan release. Everything from his patented number 23 to his bald head down to the way he chewed gum. Everyone wanted to be like Mike. His nightly highlights were reenacted the next day on blacktops. To get number 23 on your team meant that you were the best player on your squad. The 6-time NBA champion style of play revolutionized the modern athlete. Every general manager would risk their careers on finding the next MJ, but there was only one. Michael Jordan's business savvy and star power showed companies that he was more than just an athlete. Because of his dealings, he inspired future stars to recognize the power of their likeness, paving the way for equity partnerships, which was unheard of before him. By the time Michael Jordan finally retired in 2003, the NBA had become a multi-billion-dollar global sport. In 2023 alone, the Jordan brand grossed over $5 billion. Till this day, men and women all over the world still want to be like Mike. Who did we miss? Let us know who you'd like to see make our next list. Comment below.